Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Today I will be talking about pipeline transportation in Canada. This presentation is for my subject TPT 251 Individual Assignment on Components of Transportation. I hope all of you will enjoy and understand my presentation. So let's get started. Before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Nuraina Izian binti Nazaruddin and my student ID is 2024668736. This assignment was prepared for Madam Nur Barirah binti Ahmad. I am happy to be here today to share what I have learned about this topic. So, first of all, what is a pipeline? A pipeline is a system that is used to move liquids and gases like crude oil and natural gas through connected pipes over very long distance. Think of it like a very long underground tube that carries oil and gas from one place to another. In Canada, pipelines are very important because Canada has a lot of oil and gas resources, mainly in province of Alberta. So a good pipeline system has been built to connect these production areas to refineries, storage places, and export terminals all across the country. Canada actually has one of the biggest pipeline networks in the whole world. This network is important because it helps supply energy to people inside Canada and also support trade with other countries. So we can say that pipelines are very big and important part of Canada's energy system. Now, let me talk about the characteristic of pipeline transportation in Canada. In terms of size, Canada has more than 840,000 kilometers of pipelines. That is a very large number. This network covers all major areas of the country from the west coast all the way to the east coast. The main things carried by these pipelines are crude oil, natural gas, and refined products like petrol and diesel. These resources are moved from production areas in Alberta to refineries and markets in other provinces. When it comes to safety, all pipelines in Canada must follow very strict rules set by the government. The Canada Energy Regulator, which we call the CER, is responsible for making sure all the pipeline operations are safe and also follow environmental laws. So, pipelines in Canada are not only big but also carefully managed. Pipelines have three advantages that make them very useful for Canada. The first advantage is efficiency. Pipelines can move very large amount of crude oil and natural gas continuously without stopping. They connect big production areas like Alberta to refineries and markets in other provinces. This helps make sure energy supply across the country is always stable and not interrupted. The second advantage is that pipeline is cost effective. Once a pipeline is built, the cost to run it is actually very low compared to using any trucks or trains. Pipelines can also last for many decades with low maintenance costs. So in the long run, it is much cheaper way to move energy across the large areas. The third advantage is economic value. Pipelines are good for Canada's economy. They create thousands of jobs during construction and also during long-term operation. They also help Canada sell its energy to other countries, which brings in a lot of money and support regional economic across the country. However, pipelines also come with some important disadvantages that we cannot ignore. The first problem is environmental risk. If a pipeline leaks or there is an oil spill, it can cause very serious damage to the land, rivers, and animal living nearby. The recovery process can take many years and sometimes the damage is permanent. This is why environmental safety is always a big concern when it comes to pipeline operations. The second problem is public opposition. Many communities, especially indigenous groups, do not want pipelines to be built near their areas. They are worried about environmental damage, land rights, and the risk of accident. This kind of disagreement can cause a big delays in project and sometimes leads to conflict between the communities and pipeline companies. The third problem is that pipelines are very expensive and take long time to build. The planning process, engineering work, and getting government approval alone can take many years. After that, construction also takes more time. So it is not something that can be done quickly or cheaply. Canada has a very well developed pipeline infrastructure that connects production areas to the market both inside and outside the country. One of the most well-known pipelines is the Trans Mountain Pipeline System. This pipeline moves crude oil all the way from Alberta to the west coast of British Columbia. From there, the oil can be shipped to international markets, especially in Asia. This makes it one of the most important pipeline routes in the whole country. Besides that, Canada has also many other major pipeline routes that connect Alberta to other provinces and even to the United States. Alberta plays the central role as a main production hub, and the pipeline routes are carefully planned to make sure the energy can reach all the parts of the country efficiently. Overall, this integrated network is essential for supporting Canada's energy supply at home and also for global energy trade. Canada has a strong and clear policy to make sure the pipelines are managed properly. The Canada Energy Regulator, or CER, is the main body that monitors all the pipeline activities in the country. The CER does the regulation inspections, enforce safety rules, and make sure all the companies have emergency response plans ready in case something goes wrong. It also makes sure all the pipelines follow environmental laws all the time. Before any new pipeline can be built, the company must first complete an environmental impact assessment. This means they have to study and understand all the possible environmental damage that might happen before construction even begins. On top of that, pipeline companies must follow the polluter pays principle, which means if an accident happens, the company is fully responsible for paying all the cleanup costs. The government also work closely with Alberta through official agreement to support energy development while still taking care of the environment. This shows that Canada tries to balance economic growth with environmental responsibility. There are several important issues that are currently affecting Canada's pipeline sector. The first issue is about carbon pricing. The government charge energy companies more money if they produce too much greenhouse gas emissions. The idea is to make companies reduce their pollution. However, recent studies show that carbon pricing may not be as effective as expected in reducing emissions, especially in the oil gas sector. This raised concern about whether Canada can really meet its long-term climate goals. The second issue is economic impact on industry. Because of carbon pricing, operating costs for fossil fuel companies have gone up. This put a lot of financial pressure on Alberta's energy sector. It can also reduce their ability to compete in the international market and may even affect jobs and investment in the energy industry. The third issue is disagreement between federal and provincial governments. They sometimes have different views on energy policies. These differences cause delays and make it hard to plan for the future of energy infrastructure in Canada. Strong cooperation between all levels of government is really needed to solve this problem. Many different groups are involved in Canada pipeline transportation system and each one plays an important role. The first group is government agencies. Transport Canada set national transportation policies while the CER regulates pipeline safety. They approve pipeline projects, do regular monitoring, and make sure all the pipelines follow safety and environmental laws. Without them, the system would not be safe or well managed. The second group is pipeline operators, which are the energy companies. These companies are responsible for building, managing, and operating the pipelines. They transport oil and natural gas from production areas in Alberta to refineries and market across the Canada and overseas. Environmental groups are also part of this category. They monitor pipeline projects and speak up when they see risks to land, water, or wildlife. The third group is indigenous and local communities. This is a very important group because many pipelines pass through indigenous traditional lands. These communities must be properly consulted and included in all decision-making process. Their concern must be heard and respected. When communities are involved, pipeline projects are more likely to be accepted and completely successfully. For my case study, I choose the Trans Mountain Pipeline Expansions Project, also known as TMX. This is one of the most important pipeline projects in Canadian history. The main goal of TMX is to transport crude oil from Alberta to the west coast of British Columbia. The project aims to increase pipeline capacity so that more oil can be exported to international market. This is important for Canada's economy and its position in global energy trade. This project involves many stakeholders working together. Government agencies are responsible for approval and monitoring. Pipeline operators handle construction and daily operations. Indigenous communities are consulted because the pipeline passes through their traditional lands. Environmental groups also monitor the project to make sure the environment is protected. From TMX, we can learn that when all stakeholders cooperate well, the pipeline becomes more efficient and reliable. But when there are conflicts, especially over indigenous rights or environmental issues, it can slow everything down. So the key lesson from TMX is that we must always balance economic development, environmental protection, and the rights of communities. Based on everything I discussed, I have three recommendations for improving pipeline transportation in Canada. My first recommendation is to invest in better leak detection technology. Pipeline leaks and oil spill can cause very serious damage, so it is important to catch problems early before they get worse. By installing advanced sensor and real-time monitoring system along the pipeline routes, company can detect problem faster and respond more quickly when accident happen. This will make pipelines much safer for everyone. My second recommendation is to strengthen community engagement, especially with indigenous groups. Since many pipelines pass through their lands, it is very important that their voices are heard and respected. The government and pipeline companies should make sure proper consultation happen at every stage of project. Fair agreements must also be made to address community concern. When communities feel involved and respected, projects run very smoothly with a less delay. My third recommendation is to upgrade all pipelines and start planning for cleaner energy. Some pipelines in Canada are already old and need to be fixed to reduce safety risks. At the same time, Canada should slowly start preparing for shift toward renewable energy sources. This way, Canada can still meet its energy needs today while also taking care of the environment for future generations. In conclusion, pipelines are a very important part of Canada's energy system. With more than 840,000 kilometers of pipelines, Canada is able to move oil and gas efficiently from production areas to the market at home and overseas. However, challenges like environmental risk, high costs, and public opposition must always be managed carefully. The Trans Mountain Pipeline or TMX is a good example that shows us how economic development, environmental care, and community rights must be balanced together. With a strong regulation, better safety technology, and good cooperation between all the parties, Canada's pipeline system can continue to work well and responsible in the future. That's all from me. Thank you very much for listening. Assalamualaikum.